With me, Shireen Bhan. We're on board an Akasa Airlines flight and we're here to mark the second anniversary of the airline. In India, given the landscape that aviation has seen over the past few years, it is not just a celebratory relief for the entire ecosystem, which includes the government, the airline, of course, but the airport operators as well, and of course the consumers. When an airline marks a milestone of its existence, it has, of course, been a much more stable environment when we talk about ATF, but there are other challenges that have come in the way, especially as far as the challenges with Boeing are concerned. To understand what the journey over the past 2 years has been like, but more importantly, what the flight path ahead looks like, joining me now is the team at Akasa, Vinay Dubey, Benson Coutinho. Many thanks for joining us. Congratulations, as I said, on completing 2 years here of flying in the Indian space. Vinay, let me start by asking you, was there a checklist of deliverables that you wanted to achieve by year 2, and have those been marked?
So the answer is yes and no. And the reason I'll say yes and no is because there was an initial checklist, and all of those have been ticked off. And then we added more to it, and those have been ticked off, and then we added more to it, and this process continues.
So what have been the big hits and the big misses?
Actually, there haven't been any misses, and let me explain. So growth was one that we knew we would have, and Shireen, you know this is not just about Akasa, but this is about India, right? India is growing, aviation is in its infancy, and we were part of this growth journey. I think what has been particularly happy for us is how we have exceeded customer expectations in terms of both service and reliability. Right? When you're growing 300+% as we have, 50+% in this financial year, you would expect that might, potentially strain the operating environment. And that's the part that I just take my hat off to the 4,000+ employees that Akasa have for maintaining the reliability that we've been able to exhibit over these last couple of years. So very pleased with
I'll get to operations in just a second, but Benson, let me ask you as well, from a marketing perspective, getting a new brand off the ground, so to speak, isn't an easy task, but what's been the big lesson, what's been the big learning for you from this?
I think, thanks to the team behind when we started to set this up, it made it easy to start with. I think the conviction is always to build an airline that is a happy airline, happy employees first, and of course, investment in our training, in the product and service that we put in would ultimately bring us to where we are today. So service excellence was the name of the game for us, and that's a culture that we're building, and we're super proud that each and every employee has stood up, taken the values of Akasa forward, and we're so happy to see customer feedback coming organically, right from the first flight passengers have taken, and we see repeat customers time and again on our flights, and this simply tells us that what we've done, what we've tried to do, has really helped and made a difference in Indian aviation, and super happy with
Where are the sneakers? I was expecting the two of you to be in the sneakers.
Soon enough.
Okay. Let's talk about the road ahead now. 24 aircraft in operation. In your 19th month, you decided to go international as well. You got a sizable order, 150 aircraft that you placed in January this year. What should we expect realistically in terms of capacity addition for this financial year?
So this financial year, we've said that we will grow by 50% compared to the last. Last financial year, we grew 300% compared to the previous. So 50%, 300%, these are numbers that we haven't seen before for an airline at this stage. And by the way, we're not talking about going from 1 to 2. These are on a pretty fast base. I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but Akasa in its first year has broke, every conceivable record globally in the 123-year history of global aviation. So 50% in this particular fiscal year.
And when we last spoke, you said that you were also looking at doubling pilots. What is the position on that front? Are you still going ahead with that plan?
Yeah, in fact, Shireen, this is, as Benson talked about, we're building not just a brand for our consumers, but being employee-centric from day one is something we've talked about, right? We've talked about being, having service leadership, cost leadership, employee centricity, and building this on a platform of world-class safety. So employee centricity has been a super important element of who we are. I'm happy to report that we've got over 800 or approximately 800 pilots already with Akasa. So at this point, we've actually stopped pilot hiring.
Okay.
We've got, and part of the reason we've been able to attract pilots is because of our employee centricity, the patterns that we offer, the lifestyle patterns that we offer our employees, the focus we've got on training, the new generation of aircraft that we're flying. We're very, the respect and transparency with which we hope we treat them. And not just pilots, but all our employees. So at this point, specifically, we're no longer hiring pilots, and we will be that way for some period of time.
Okay, and the legal issues that you had with pilots, is that a thing of the past? And what have been the lessons learned from that experience?
To be honest, I think we're all of that is well in the past, and for us, we're just focusing on making sure that that we continue down our path of being employee centric, and so that's where we are today.
Let's talk about with the international expansion now, and you are hoping to add more routes as you fly international. In terms of the way that you market the brand, I mean, in India is one story, but globally is another. What's the plan? What's the strategy going to be?
I think we're going to stick to our core of what we bring to the consumer, which is service excellence. We build this airline where people are going to make the difference in terms of the service that we render. Of course, you see the product, the comfortable seats, the cushions that we invested in, the gracious, generous leg room that we have, to the meals that we offer. I think that all put together, creates that Akasa experience that we now are super proud to take it to the world. The service excellence through our people is going to be the differentiator. We said it when we started the airline that if India needs an airline, it needs an airline that is warm, friendly, and creates a very inclusive travel environment. And I think we've stuck to that, and we see tremendous amount of feedback that comes to us that our people made the difference. Our people were welcoming, our people were friendly. We try to create an inclusive environment right from the Braille menu card to the safety Braille cards that we have. We even fly pets on our flights. I think that is the core essence of us, and we're going to take that spirit of Indian hospitality to the world now.
Well, speaking of Indian hospitality, let's talk about numbers now, Vinay. In terms of what you're being able to do on revenue, what you're being able to do on yields, and what you're being able to do on costs. If I were to look at your FY23 performance, FY24, your numbers are yet to be disclosed. Have losses come down, and do you have a path to profitability that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think the answer to both is yes. So to give you a number, our EBITDA margins improved by over 30 points, which is very significant. And so losses for early stage companies, not just airlines, but early stage companies are not surprising. And so we will have losses, but our margins continue.
But are they sustainable? Not surprising, but are they sustainable is the question.
Well, for us, we don't plan on sustaining them, right? You asked about a path to profitability. So as we continue to expand, and with the expansion and with the evolution of our network, our cost structures get much more competitive. And then as the brand gets known, as we start taking more corporate consumers, as we expand internationally, as our revenues get better. And so the plan absolutely is to be profitable here, and to be profitable here amongst one of the fastest companies or airlines that will turn to profitability. We're not going to put timelines on that, Shirin.
But would it be fair, to draw comparisons with Indigo? I mean, that's been around for 18 years now, but they turned profitable around the fourth year. Would that be a realistic time frame for Akasa?
Again, I wouldn't want to put time frames on that, but let's take two pieces of what I've said. So the one part I've said is we've got a path to profitability. The other part I've said is that our path to profitability is going to be on par with the finest companies in the world, not just the finest airlines, right? And so you can draw a parallel to any of the other top-notch companies in terms of our path to profitability, because we've got this really solid financial foundation that we've built.
Well, Well, speaking of that financial foundation, I want to understand from you, what more can you do to aid revenues? What do you see as being the big revenue drivers? Of course, going international, as you mentioned before, it's more profitable than flying domestic. What's the bump up that gives you? What's the kind of headroom that provides you? And on the cost side, I mean, what more can you do, in terms of better utilization and so on and so forth?
Yeah. So on the revenue side, and I'll try and keep my answer brief because I could talk about revenues and costs for 2 hours here. But on the revenue side, international provides a big bump to us. As we scale the network, we're able to attract more corporate travel. That tends to be a higher yielding form of travel. So that's another bump to us. As we build scale, you're able to offer greater frequency, and with greater frequency, you get a higher share of consumers. As your brand gets known in the market, you tend to get a lot more repeat customers. Repeat customers tend to want to fly a CASA that also come with high yield. So on the revenue side, these are just some of the items. Like I said, there are 10 more that I won't mention. On the cost side, there are 3 or 4 principal drivers. The biggest of that is scale, right? You only need one CEO for 24 aircraft. You also need only one CEO for 200 aircraft, right? In this manner, scale gives us a huge bump. International expansion, and just to put some numbers, today we are 11% of our capacity is flying internationally, right? And this is, imagine, we weren't flying internationally until the 28th of March.
Yeah.
So international expansion is a big element of our strategy. We're already at 11%, and international flying comes at a lower cost. Fuel, for example, does not carry the same taxes internationally as they do domestically. So scale, international. Utilization is marginal for us because we're very close to what we would consider a best-in-class utilization.
So you're doing what, about 12 and a half hours
that's
per
correct.
aircraft?
Very, very close to it. And so utilization is one where we'll get maybe marginal bumps over a period of time, but not much. Scale is a big element. International is a big element. And then Shirin, as we grow over time, so if you fast forward, let's say 5-7 years, because you tend to be quite forward looking in your outlook, we haven't begun to get the larger equivalents of the 321, which is the MAX 10, right? Those will come maybe 2-3 years out, and those come with a higher number of seats. And by the way, higher number of seats does not equal cramped. Boeing has a best-in-class legroom as people who have traveled on a CASA, but those come with a very different cost profile. So the elements like that, that have a benefit on the cost side.